Welcome to Horror's Hallowed Grounds.
1, 2, 3, 4. I don't care what you say about your own time. It's not my problem. Reason if you doesn't mean a fucking thing to me. Take your reasons and drive all night. Alright. Never cared what you said, kept dumb and blind.
Uh,
Hello?
hello.
Hey, I've got the Skype thing all up and ready to go.
Oh, okay. Do you want to switch over to Skype instead? Or do you want to be on this since we're connected on this now?
I guess I can do this.
All right.
That's fine. Okay.
Sweet. All right.
About how long you think we're going to do this for? I'm in no rush. I'm just curious.
I'd say 20 minutes should be good.
Oh, that's it? Okay.
20,
no problem.
25 minutes, really.
Okay.
And that's in my head how long I think. But if you have stuff that's coming up and stuff you want to bring up as well, feel free. So it could go longer.
Okay.
Average attention span I've noticed in interviews is between 20 and 30 minutes.
Okay.
Let's see. So this will air, by the way. This is not going to air tonight. Next weekend I am taking off after doing 2 months in a row of weekend after weekend of horror Halloween stuff. And this weekend was Rhode Island Comic Con, so it kind of got enveloped into that as well. So I'm taking next weekend off from doing everything in my entire life except for nothing at home. This will air on the 17th.
Okay.
So it could also act as like a Black Friday special for people that go out and buy Blu-rays from Scream Factory for their loved ones. gift ideas. All right, quick pause real quick, and then we will start.
Okay.
And welcome back to the Radio Horror Show. Tonight on the show, we have returning guest. It's been a while since he's been on. Last time he was on was for the Halloween box set. We have Horror's Hallowed Grounds creator and Blu-ray aficionado and liaison to stars at conventions, Sean Clark, back on the show with us. Thank you for coming back on the show with us, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
Multiple titles and taglines that you happen to wear.
Yeah, it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
You're the owner operator of Convention All Stars, which has you like just all over the planet Earth. It seems every time I see you on Facebook, you're on a different section of the planet.
Yeah, I decided to take this weekend off. I mean, I have clients at shows all over the globe this weekend, but I didn't want to waste my Halloween sitting on a plane flying somewhere, because in order to go to any of those events, I would have had to have traveled on Thursday. I wanted to enjoy Halloween since it's my favorite holiday, so I took the weekend off.
Yeah, you. I mean, just imagine the horror stories that could happen on a plane. I mean, like Gremlins or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Just flying anywhere to me these days is a horror story. So.
Oh, jeez. The amount of the amount of airplane and airport horror stories that you must have could probably fill a book.
Yeah.
Recently,
I'm not a fan of flying.
Recently out from Scream Factory is a bunch of great new titles, including John Carpenter's Vampires. And it seems like Scream has like all of the John Carpenter titles. They have The Thing, they have Village of the Damned, they have Big Trouble in Little China.
Halloween, the
Halloween,
fog.
yeah, the
someone's
fog.
watching you. Yeah, They Live. I've worked on almost all of them. The only ones I didn't work on were They Live and The Thing. I worked on every other John Carpenter title. Oh, I didn't work on Big Trouble. I actually passed that off to someone. I had my fill of my John Carpenter fill after doing. I did Starman, In the Mouth of Madness,
Yeah.
Village of the Damned, and Vampires, and Someone's Watching Me, all within like 2 years. And I kind of felt like I wore out my welcome with John. So I decided to pass it off, just because I don't ever feel the warmest welcome from him anyway. But I was definitely somebody he probably was tired of seeing show up to interview him. So.
There, what was the one that I noticed escaped Scream Factory? It was Ghost of Mars, Mill Creek. I think just recently put that out on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I don't think Scream Factory's losing any sleep over that.
But going back to John Carpenter's Vampires, how much fun was that? Because that was a film I've been waiting to get its due for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite title of his. I enjoy the movie, but it was actually fun working on, because I'm good friends with Greg Nicotero, so it's always good to hang out with him. But getting to interview oh gosh, what's his name? The vampire, Thomas Ian. Is it Thomas Ian
Griffith.
Mitchell? No, Thomas Ian Nichols.
Griffith.
I always mix him up with the guy from American Pie. The names are so similar.
Oh, it's Thomas Ian Griffith, I think.
Griffith. Thomas Ian Griffith. You're correct.
Yep. Valak.
I was a big fan of his from that, and obviously Karate Kid 3. Terry Silver, such a great character. So it was great to get to meet him and interview him, and then the big one was getting James Woods, which was it was not an easy task, and I was a little nervous about doing that interview. And
yeah, I can
ended
understand
up
why.
being one of the best interviews I ever got, and honestly one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I mean, just a real pleasure to interview.
Really? Okay, because
Yeah.
that was gonna be my big question. I was like, who is the hardest person to get? Because there's a couple people I didn't see in the interviews, and I'm like, but you got James Woods, and I'm like, James Woods' star power isn't that big anymore, but he's still pretty big. But you got him. And then there was a couple that you weren't able to get, because now when they're talking to the camera, you're the person that they're talking to, correct?
On all of those interviews, yeah. So the only one I didn't do was the guy that played the priest, Tim Gunny or Gane or something. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I didn't interview him because he was in New York and I didn't have time to get there, so we hired someone to do that one. But for whatever reason, Cheryl Lee was being dodgy, just wouldn't commit. Daniel Baldwin said yes, and then suddenly just went dark on us. So you just never know with these things. I mean, these projects, there's no money involved. I mean, our budgets are next to nothing. So you're literally pitching to them, hey, would you like to, this is for the fans, people that are big fans of this movie. They're the ones that are going to buy this Blu-ray. They're the ones that want to hear the stories. If you're proud of this film, do you want to document that, and have something that's going to last longer than all of us? And, and usually people are willing to get on board with that sort of thing. But when there's no money involved, the only motivating factor is if they really want to do it or not, so.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because Cheryl was supposed to be at Rock and Shock, the horror convention that you've been to, with a lot of her Twin Peaks classmates, and she canceled.
Yeah, I used to work with her for convention booking, and she was kind of notorious for canceling, for whatever reason. But yeah, it just it is what it is. I tried. I spoke to her directly about it. She just didn't seem to want to commit, so it just didn't happen. It's unfortunate too, because she's very, very good in the role. In fact, I think it's one of her best performances.
Oh, I love her. I love that character. I love, her performance in it is fantastic. I mean, it's just she really threw herself into that, and what is Dunder, that character in that movie, is not had to have been easy for the actress.
Oh yeah, I would have loved to have heard her side to it, because James and everybody else brought up how physical they were getting with her, and how she was really on board with it. I mean, and she got beat up pretty good.
Oh yeah,
they said
that. I mean, just not saying that this is simple, but to being tied to the bed and stripped bare ass naked, to getting smacked in the face. I mean, granted, she's a vampire now, so monsters are a little bit more, you can be a little bit more, what's the word? I don't want to say abusive, but I mean, she is technically on the verge of becoming a full-fledged vampire at this point. So she's not just a woman. She's not just a prostitute that she's being smacked around. There's levels that you can cross with supernatural creatures that you really be like, wow, you're stepping on some Grand Theft Auto territory there.
Oh, nowadays you probably can't even do that, but back then, yeah, sure.
Right. That's why on Buffy the Vampire Slayer they changed all the vampires to monster faces, because you couldn't have a pretty blonde woman going around stabbing people in the chest that looked like as beautiful as she is, Yeah. Just a sidestep real quick. You'd mentioned that you had clients all over the place. I think we had a couple here at Rock and Shock. I think we had a couple here at Rhode Island Comic Con a couple weeks ago. Scott Ian from Anthrax was at Rhode Island Comic Con.
Well, today, yeah.
Well, at the time this is going to air, at the point this is going to air, it will have been at least a couple weeks in the past.
Yes, that's true. I had Scotty in there, Richard Brake from 31 and 3 from Hell and Game of Thrones, and Donald Logue from from Gotham. He was there, and I also had Griffin Newman from The Tick. So I had 4 people at Rhode Island.
Excellent. I actually got to speak with Richard and asked him about coming on the show for an interview, and he said to reach out to him on Instagram.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Going back into Scream Factory, so what was there not enough locations to do a Horrors Hallowed Ground for vampires?
No, I probably could have done one. It was more of it kind of came down to a couple of things. It was I'm not a huge fan of the film, so I wasn't super motivated to go find those locations.
Uh-huh.
And B, budget and time. If I was really not hitting the mark interview wise, if I wasn't pulling in good names for the bonus feature stuff that we were getting for them, because my side company, Vidywell Films, we did all the bonus features for that release. So if I was really lacking on getting good talent for that, I probably would have forced myself to go out and shoot that episode. But I'd gotten some good names. I felt that based on the budget we were playing with, that, I mean, I'll be honest with you, based on what we had to put up to make those bonus features, I probably broke even. I mean, I didn't make any money. So in order to go to New Mexico and, fly there, rent a car, get a hotel, and bring my camera guy too, it would have been totally out of my pocket. So in order to do that, it has to be something I really wanted to do,
Have you ever thought about, and this is something I wanted to text you, but I thought this would be a funnier conversation to have while we have you on the show. And I understand budget is a big problem sometimes. But if you had the budget, would you ever want to do a Horror's Hallowed Ground parody video where you go to, let's say, the bone ship in Alien and okay, so this is where the facehugger jumped out of the egg and attached itself to John Hurt's character or whatever, and you're in a spacesuit and you're walking around with the eggs, and next thing you turn around and a facehugger's on top of you, and then the next scene, okay, so now we're at Crystal Lake, and this is where Jason, and you're running away as Jason just starts taking stabs at you, or you're in the nightmare scene, and this is the boiler room where Freddy Krueger supposedly took the children down here, but those are alleged accusations that we're not gonna.
Well, we've kind of done that within some of our own episodes. We've parodied stuff, so we've done that ourselves. I mean, if you watch the Elm Street episode we did, we parodied a lot of stuff, from the girl in the, from Amanda Wisp being in the body bag, and me bumping into the hall monitor in the hallway and having the actual woman that played the hall monitor there do it. I mean, we do parodies within our own episodes, when they work. We talked about doing one that kind of reminds me of what you're talking about. I had been offered to do the Critters box set, and admittedly, I'm not a fan of that franchise. But my camera guy, Buzz Wallach, is, and he was really pushing hard for me to do it. It, again, came down to a matter of time, but we were going to do all 4 films, and the one, I think it's part 3 or 5, I'm so bad with that, I'm not even familiar with the franchise that much. One of them's in space. I think it might be part 4.
4 is in, yes, it's always the 4th one's in space. Leprechaun, Hellraiser, and Critters.
Yeah, so so we had an idea of just having me shot in front of a green screen floating, and we were going to do a gag episode in space. So so we've had ideas like that were just stupid,
The one Horror's Hallowed Ground that I was shocked that you did, and I didn't know about it until I finally got the Blu-ray. It's been a year since it came out, but I just recently picked it up. Because these Scream Factory releases are there for collectors. They are expensive sometimes. I mean, it's taken a little while for Candyman to come down in price. And it's finally I think around a $24.99 price mark, where it was originally in the 30s and 40s for a long time. You did one for Village of the Damned, and I'm like, oh my God, I loved Village of the Damned. I mean, and I was so happy that there was such great what's the word I'm looking for? Nostalgia about working with the late great Christopher Reeve. You know,
Yeah.
and so many people said something about him because I was hoping that if that, you know, if like I knew you were doing the interviews, I'm like, if Sean doesn't get like somebody related to him to talk about him, hopefully all of the actors have something amazing to say about, you know, the iconic actor who played Superman, Christopher Reeve, and that was
Yeah.
fantastic. And then you did a Horror's Hallowed Ground about it, which was like kind of like, wow, that's an oddball film to do one about.
Yeah, and I can't honestly for the life of me even remember why I did that episode because again, it's not one of my favorite films.
Oh.
I enjoyed it, but as far as Carpenter's work, it wasn't one of my favorites. But I can't remember why we made the venture out there to do it. There had to have been another reason that we were going out to that area. I don't recall, but I think I knew where everything was, and I do love that area because that's the area like where they shot the birds and the fog and stuff, and it's it's a really beautiful place to visit. And I'm glad we did it because it was a lot. It ended up being a lot of fun, and I want to say. I think the reason I ended up doing it was because I was talking to Sandy King, Carpenter, about it, and she told me I should reach out to this guy. His name escapes me at the moment, but he was the sheriff of that town, and that he knew where everything was, and he would be a good guy to interview. So I reached out to him, and he was so on board with us doing it, all the way up to the point of hooking us up. We had to pay, but he hooked us up with a really cool place to stay while we were in town. And but he literally gave us a tour. I mean, without his help, we would never found like that abandoned road where the line was, where you walk across and you pass out, there were certain things like that without his help we would have never found. So he was pretty much that guy was, a godsend for that project.
Was there more? I don't know what the word is. I want to say waxing nostalgically, but honoring of Christopher Reeve that wasn't put on the disc.
Not really. I mean, everybody talked about him. I was definitely disappointed that we got zero response from, was it Kirstie Alley is her name?
Yeah, Kirstie Alley. Yeah,
Yeah.
That was a big absence I noticed. I was like, really?
Yeah.
What is
no response from her people whatsoever. Not even a no, just no reply. I was also disappointed that we didn't get Mark Hamill, as I thought he would be somebody who would, it's not Star Wars. Let's talk about something else,
It's not the Joker either.
Yeah, and the fact that he'd worked with John twice, doing body bags as well. I thought he would be on board because, you get some people that are just so game. Like Peter Jason, that guy is John's biggest cheerleader. He'll do anything related to John. He just loves John so much. So.
That was definitely a little strange, but excellent, two absolute excellent Blu-rays. And I know they're not your favorite Carpenter films. Out of all the releases that you've worked on for Scream, what has been your favorite one? Because I've now mentioned two that were not.
Well, I mean, the project I'm the most proud of is the work we did on the Halloween box set.
Oh, yeah.
We did an incredible amount of work in a short period of time. And, it was bonkers how much we did. I rented a room at the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City, and I think I stayed there because I live in Orange County, so I'm like an hour's drive from LA. With traffic can be 2 hours sometimes, and I didn't want to keep going back and forth, so it made more sense for me to just rent a room. We set everything up. We book interviews and just have people come in and out all day. And, we shot like 50 interviews over 3 days. And then we went to Salt Lake City and spent 3 or 4 days shooting Halloween 4, 5, and 6 Horrors Hallowed Grounds episodes. I mean, literally from when the sun came up till the sun went down every day, busting our asses. It was a lot of work, and it really paid off because we won a Saturn Award. You know, I'm looking at it right in front of me. It was like something I never expected to win, nor even be nominated for. But you know, that was a proud accomplishment. But my favorite, I think more in regards to the Horrors Hallowed Grounds episodes of what my favorite is, what was the most fun to do. It probably is probably Halloween 3, just going back with Tommy Lee Wallace to all those locations, because I'm such a big fan of that movie. That was a real nerdgasm, you know.
I heard, and I think we talked about this when Halloween came out.
Mm-hmm.
There was to be a Horrors Hallowed Ground, and I know television series by Blume House, or did I mishear?
No. What that was, I think what was going on there was Blumhouse.
Blumhouse, sorry.
Yeah, they had for a short period of time they were doing web content, and that whole thing seemed to fall apart. I know they're still doing like Shockwaves podcasts and stuff like that, but they were going to be doing like actual video content, and I think that whole division just closed. There was a website, and so they were starting to run previous episodes to build interest to potentially do Horrors Hallowed Grounds as a series, but I don't think any of it worked. It just wasn't working. But on another note, there is interest currently from another party to do Horrors Hallowed Grounds as a series, and I'm in talks right now. So we'll see where that goes. It's something I do as a hobby. I'm not. If somebody wanted to put some money into it and take it serious, I'm all about it. But I'm not. I'm fine either way. Horrors Hallowed Grounds could end today, and I would be content because I did much more with it than I ever anticipated to do. And I'm always shocked at people coming up to me, you know, even on the street and recognizing me from it and telling me how much they love it. I mean, and it's now a lot of that Scream stuff is starting to finally get released overseas. And so now when I go to conventions out of the country, people are even coming up to me telling me they love it. And I'm just like, wow, this is a real trip that it's gone as far as it has, you know.
I gotta assume that the biggest thing that whoever invests into being like, we're gonna sign contracts tomorrow, TV series are gonna happen, we're gonna shoot 5 or 6 episodes, that they know the biggest thing I'm assuming is gonna be gas, fuel, plane tickets, stuff like that. Just getting to these places is gonna be the biggest part of the budget, right?
Well, I mean,
gas is so expensive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, you know, when you start to go legit for something like this, and you start to, you know, like the way we do it with Scream Factory, it's so loosey-goosey, it's so by the seat of our pants, and
yeah.
and it's mostly favors. You know, all the celebrities that pop up in my episodes are all friends that are just doing favors, you know. When you start getting into something that's a legit series that be airing and, you know, could have some monetary value in some way or another, that's when, you know, agents are going to start getting involved, and they're going to want to get a SAG minimum, and there's going to be things like that. So that's going to add to the budget. Also, you know, the clips, the film clips that are crucial to what I do, showing the comparisons, we get away with using them because we're on the actual release of the film. So now you got to get into what's fair use and what isn't, and do we have to pay for clips, and that can get expensive and tricky, and so there's a lot of hurdles when it starts to become legit. You know, one of the biggest questions fans ask me is, are we ever going to see a Horror's Hallowed Grounds box set of some sort where they can get every episode in one place instead of having to buy all these individual DVDs? And the answer is probably no, because of the rights to the clips, you know?
And that's why it's easier to write an article for a magazine than film an episode, because you have like 40 articles. I'm looking at the list right here, from Poltergeist to Carrie, and then the video list is Halloween to Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, and if you're looking that up on the Facebook page, I haven't even updated that in so long that there's a lot more articles that one of my associates, Robert Patterson, who's been writing a lot of the articles lately for Horror Hound.
Wait, the actor from Twilight? No, I'm kidding.
No,
Oh.
Robert Patterson.
Oh, sorry. I just saw the lighthouse, so I'm all sparkle the Batman up. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, he's been writing articles lately. In fact, like the latest issue that's out, I think he has an article on Shocker. He did a Horror's Hallowed Grounds for Shocker. So I haven't personally written an article for Horror's Hallowed Grounds for Horror Hound for a couple of years. It's been, I think the last one I wrote might have been Carrie. I don't remember.
That might be why the list is listed as you and not the other guy.
No, I think there might be some on there that he wrote. I just haven't updated it lately. I'm lazy and I'm busy.
Oh no, this is a Sean Clark fan apparently, and this list is updated as of 2018. So.
Oh, okay.
So this is, again, you're right. This is probably up to you writing them as of Carrie, and they do not list the other writer. So this is this is a fan of yours. What do we have coming out that you're working on from Scream Factory? Are you involved with what is it? Big Trouble in Little China?
No.
Okay.
No, I was involved with it. I had temporarily agreed to do it, and then got so busy that I backed out. And just plus what I was saying earlier about feeling like I wore out my welcome with John. So I basically, I got excited for a second, and then I said, you know what? Unless I thought there was a chance in hell I could get Kurt Russell, I think I'm gonna pass on this one. So they passed it off to someone else. But the only thing I'm currently working on is My Bloody Valentine, the original.
Ooh, yes, that should be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so bummed because I really, really, really wanted to do a Horror's Hallowed Grounds for it. It's a bucket list location for me, and unfortunately, I just got so busy that time got away from me, and you know, it's now snowing and stuff there. It's just too cold, and it wouldn't be a very good episode in the snow.
You know, we're here in New England, and we just the weather report just flashed on my screen that we are getting snow this Thursday, possibly.
Yeah. I'm really disappointed because I had Peter Cowper, who played the miner, was going to go with me and everything. It was all so perfectly set up, and I just ran out of time. And unfortunately, you know, I wish Scream Factory could be like, hey, no worries, you know, we'll just postpone it until the weather changes. But they have deadlines, and, you know, they have to get product out at a certain time. So as of right now, we're just working on the regular interview type stuff.
Maybe if they ever get Alligator, which is one of the most highly demanded Scream Factory films, it seems, you could go into the sewer and.
I don't know exactly where that was shot. I mean, I know it's supposed to be in New York, right?
Yeah. Again, that might be that parody video. All right, so we're in the sewer, and you're dying in the video because it's sewers.
Now that Robert Forster's dead, it's kind of a bummer. You
know? Yeah, that's definitely the loss. So it's My Bloody Valentine, which you the original that you're working on. We did a fan fun commentary for that movie a couple of years ago, me and a co-host of mine. And Lionsgate didn't block us or tattle on us to YouTube, but they censored us in Canada. And all we're doing is talking about the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, I got so pissed about that. I called Lionsgate, PR, and everyone else I could try and find at Lionsgate repeatedly to the point that I got blocked.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, first of all, why just in Canada though? I don't get it.
Well, it's a Canadian production. I don't know if who knows how. What you know? You never know with this stuff. It's stupid rules.
True. The one I didn't see, and this brings up something we had texted about. A lot of these are on YouTube, and you said you don't.
Yeah.
You don't mind. I mean, what was in your words about it being on YouTube? It's copywritten material, but it's also bonus material on a DVD.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't put any of that stuff on YouTube.
No.
I've considered. I have the right to.
Yeah, you should have your own channel and do it. I mean, I'm sure you get the hits, plus the monetary gain from YouTube would help you.
Yeah, I guess I should do it. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating because the one thing people seem to come up to me and say is, "Hey, I love your YouTube channel. I watch your location video," and I'm like, I don't have a YouTube channel.
Oh no!
I do have a personal one where I post some stuff, but it isn't what they're talking about. They're talking about the stuff that other people have stuck up there. But again, like I said, it's a hobby. I'm not really making any money off of it. The more people that get to see it, the better, is kind of how I feel. So, I don't really care.
Are you Gem R on YouTube? You're not Sean Clark, the composer, designer, educator, drum artist, right? Just making sure.
No.
Okay.
No, my YouTube channel is Malfunction.
Okay, because there is literally a YouTube channel called Sean Clark.
Yeah, it's a pretty common name. So
there's actually more than one YouTube channel with Sean Clark.
I don't doubt it.
Creepshow. I haven't seen Creepshow. I gotta pick up the Blu-ray first. Creepshow, but I heard that you had done one for that. I was incredibly excited. What are you, besides My Bloody Valentine, working on that Blu-ray coming up? What else have you got going on that you would like to talk about before we let you go? Or what convention are you going to in the next month or so, before hopefully the holiday or after the holiday?
Well, I don't have any new projects coming up beyond My Bloody Valentine. I mean, the one thing, again, we started this as a hobby, myself, Andrew Cash, and Buzz Wallach, and it's something we did for fun. And then, it kind of got to, we started doing the interview stuff, and that was fun too. But honestly, that's kind of not got that much fun anymore. I think it's become a little bit of, I don't know, maybe we're just running out of the stuff we love. We've kind of hit all those titles we really wanted to do. I don't know, but we've all gotten busy. Our lives, have gotten busier. Buzz is directing and producing films now. Andrew has been editing for years on big TV shows and now has started directing as well. And he last season and this season has been directing on Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh,
the
excellent.
TV series.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we've all become pretty busy. In fact, I don't know if you know Dave Parker. He directed The Hills Run Red and Dead Hate the Living, stuff like that.
Name rings some bells in my head. What? Sean? 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 Shit. I would like the video chat. This will turn your video on. Sean? Sean? I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, let's try this again. So we're at our time limit. Ugh, okay, I gotta get going.
Hold on a second.
That's okay.
You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it was weird. I could hear you fine, and just like suddenly you couldn't hear me.
No, that's
Anyway,
fine.
so what I was saying about Dave Parker is he's been subbing for us quite often, editing for us. He's worked on several of the last few projects we've worked on, just because Andrew hasn't had time to edit because he's been so busy working on TV series and stuff. So anyway, I kind of feel like our days are numbered in regards to producing bonus content for any company anymore. We're just running out of time to do it. So the Horrors Hallowed Grounds thing, I think it's one of those things where if Scream Factory hits me up to specifically do a Horrors Hallowed Grounds for a specific title, I'm all in. I'm totally down for doing it. It's just a matter of, do we have the time and the budget? For example, they offered to have us do Cronenberg's The Fly and Dead Zone recently.
Oh, wow.
And I really wanted to do both, but, I mean, the budgets were just so minimal, they would have maybe covered our flights, and that's it. And, we would have to fly all the way to Toronto, rent cars, get hotels. It would have been a full project, and I really wanted to do them. So, unfortunately, as physical media is dying and less places are carrying them and less copies are being sold, the budgets are shrinking. It's just inevitable. So I just don't know how much longer we'll be able to do them, because as much as I love to do them for fun, I can't lose time and money doing them, because when I take off 3 days to go film an episode, that's 3 days that I could be putting towards my real job, and making income. So it's tough. But if this thing with the series happens, or I decide to pursue Horrors Hallowed Grounds more as a specific hobby and do it on YouTube specifically, I've had ideas of doing like a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
To do pick, I was thinking at one time to do a GoFundMe to go to Europe and shoot a bunch of episodes, do The Shining, Clockwork Orange, American Werewolf in London, Hellraiser, The Omen, Shaun of the Dead. So if we could take 2 weeks in London, in Europe, and go over there and shoot a bunch of episodes, and then give the people that backed it their own copies on Blu-ray and stuff like that. There's all kinds of ideas of things we could do.
Yeah.
That could be an option.
Yeah,
I don't
know. You don't have to use footage from the movie to worry about that copyright, and no one's going to stop you from filming at a location that's public domain or public access to everyone on the planet. So that way you can just use. I don't know if legal and copyright come into place if you use photographs, but I know footage and audio can be a problem. I'm aware of all that. God, I would.
Well, there's fair use laws that you can get around using some stuff, but it can get tricky.
Yeah,
so.
But I would totally if I heard you were doing that, I'd be like, done here. What's
Yeah.
that meme of Fry from Futurama? Shut up and take my money.
But I actually posted about it like 2 years ago. I made a post like, if I did this, would anybody be interested? And the response was overwhelmingly positive. But it just comes down to how busy I am too. I'm just so busy. I'm constantly traveling somewhere. I barely have time off as it is. So, you know,
I work for peanuts. I'll come out and film it for you. I'll go to London for you. It's okay. It's totally okay. I'll go to London. I'll go to Ireland. It's totally okay. I will brunt the the company's dollar. I will travel all over Europe. We'll go to Russia, and then we'll do Chernobyl Diaries. We'll do a Horrors Hollow Ground in Chernobyl. I'll wear my hazmat suit.
Hey, I ain't going there.
Well, okay, we'll go to all right. Then we'll go to Australia. We'll do the back roads of Wolf Creek.
Now, I've got a lot of bucket list locations I'd love to do.
Yeah, definitely. Sean, where can people find you if they want to continue following your excellent body of work, besides obviously Blu-rays, DVDs, and magazine, and conventions?
Well, like I was saying before, my YouTube is Malfunction, MALFUNSEAN. Instead of TION, it's my name, SEAN. And then on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Malfunction. And Facebook, my personal page is at Capacity, but there's an official Sean Clark Official. It's like Facebook / Sean Clark Official. So that's where you can find all my nonsense and keep up with where I'm going to be. The next convention I'm personally going to be at, I believe, is For the Love of Sci-Fi in Manchester, England. Going over there with John Bernthal.
Cool.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
There's a 80s sci-fi documentary coming out that I'm looking forward to. It starts campaigning in November. I was a contributor and helper on the 80s horror one, which is now out to the backers. It comes out on DVD and Blu-ray almost any day now.
Well,
yeah.
Cool. I haven't seen it yet.
It's really I'll tell you, it's. I mean, I'm not just tooting the horn because I worked on it, but it's excellent. They took an idea of mine for it and said, why don't we do it like a timeline, like in order of the 80s, starting in 1980. And we also talk about like, oh, Reagan became president. Oh, this thing happened in politics. This thing happened with gays and AIDS. This happened in pop culture with Alf. Why don't we tie the films into what was happening in the 80s from 80 to 89? They're like, yeah, why don't we do that? That's an excellent idea. So that's any day now. The documentary itself is like 4.5 hours long.
Wow.
And there's also an action one, which is like almost any day coming out now. There was some stuff that hurdles they had to jump over a little bit more with the 80s action one than they did the horror one. But that's coming out almost any second now too, and then the campaign starts for the sci-fi one later this month.
Now this isn't is this the same one or is it a different one that Corey Taylor from Slipknot's involved in?
I don't believe Corey Taylor. It's called In Search of Darkness.
Okay, yeah. There's like two 80s horror docs coming out at the same time. I know. Like Corey Taylor produced one of them, and has a lot to do with it. But I think there might be two.
Again, there are two almost coming out with neck and neck of each other. The action one had to overcome some legal copyright hurdles a little more than the horror one did, I was told. So. Horror obviously always seems to be a little easier to get done than mainstream stuff, and the 80s action one obviously is a lot more mainstream than the horror one. I just sent you a link to the 80s horror one on Facebook.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's again not to because I worked on it, but it's excellent. It's an excellent documentary, and also the turnaround that these guys did to put it together to get it out. You know, they missed Halloween. It's unfortunate, but they got the digital copy to the fans that backed it before Halloween, which was important.
Very cool.
Yeah, something that a lot of documentaries, I'm not going to get into the list of them, but a lot of documentaries have had some serious problems meeting their deadlines to the fans that have supported them. So, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Sean, to talk about the your work on the Scream Factory titles and to talk a little bit about what's going on and what's coming up next. Enjoyed all of your horror hallowed grounds, and you have a happy holiday coming up as well.
Thank you. You too, sir.